Getting eye movement on this rig is actually going to be a very simple process, but to illustrate kind of the idea of what we're going to be doing, I'm going to open up the channel box and unrestrict the model layer so I can select all the faces on the eyeball. When you have that selected and you go to rotate, you'll notice that the rotation handle is actually in the exact center of the eyeball. So if you go into the X-ray view mode, you can see those handles that represent the rotation aligned exactly with the sphere of that eyeball. So we know it's pretty much in the center there. So I'm going to go and exit X-ray mode. So if you rotate the eye this way, you get a pretty creepy but accurate representation of what we want to achieve with our joints. We want that same exact movement. And to get that, we want to place a joint at the exact center of this eyeball sphere mesh. So I'm going to deselect that eyeball and restrict the model again because we don't need to touch it anymore. And in the front view, I'm going to go in there and find the eyeball and place my joint from here. I'm also going to turn on X-ray mode and the wireframe in this mode to make it easier to see where that center is on the eyeball. You can see on this mesh, we actually have two intersecting edge loops, which would mark the exact center here. So it's very convenient. So I'm going to go up to the joint creation tool and hold down the V key so we snap to that vertice right there in the center of the eyeball and click. And now we've created our eye joint right in the center there. Now to ensure that this is actually in the center of the eyeball and not just in the front like it is, we're going to go into the side view and find the eyeball. Again, I'm going to go into wireframe mode here and look for those same intersecting edge loops that mark the center of this mesh. Now while holding V again, we're going to grab the translate Z handle here and pull that joint until it snaps to that center. Now if we go into our 3D perspective view, we can see that our joint has been placed right in the middle of that eye. So I'm going to go into X-ray mode. You can see that it's placed exactly in the middle of that eye. Now when we bind this joint to that eyeball and animate it later, we'll get the exact same effect that we were getting before when we rotated that mesh. Now for the upper and lower eyelids, I'm simply going to take this same joint, and we can look over in the outliner here. I'm going to press Shift D twice. I'm going to create two extra joints here. One will control the top eyelid, and the other one will control the bottom eyelid. And they use that same exact rotation when we bind them to the mesh to rotate those eyelids across the surface of the eyeball. So it all ends up working out pretty well. Now, of course, now that we've made these three new joints, we're going to go through and name them. I'm going to call this left eye joint. And below that, we're just going to decide that this will be the left eyelid upper joint. And then lastly, we'll have the left eyelid lower joint. And then hit enter. Now that we have our joints named, I'm going to select left eye joint in the outliner and shift select left eyelid lower joint. So I have them all selected here. From there, I'm going to go and shift select the head joint in the viewport and simply press P to parent those eye joints to our head. Now when we rotate the head, those joints will move along with it. To get those joints on the other eyeball, I'm going to select one of them in the viewport and go over to the outliner and press F so we can find it in there. And I'll see those three joints in there. Selecting the left eye joint first, I'm going to click the skeleton drop down in the rigging tab and find mirror joints. I'm going to open that options box so we make sure we have all our options set up the way we want. So we still have mirroring across YZ, and we're also searching for the prefix of L underscore and replacing it with R underscore. And so that all looks good in there. I'm going to hit apply, and we'll see that eye joint has been mirrored and placed right underneath the head joint, just as we'd expect. Now I'm going to select the eyelid upper joint and do the same. Hit apply, and in the outliner we'll see it nest itself underneath the head. Now the left eyelid lower, I'm going to hit apply. And I'm going to close this options window. So now we've mirrored all those eye joints to the other side of the face, and we can have eye control on both sides. I think it's only appropriate that we're finishing off this dwarf hero skeleton with his beard. So to do that, I'm going to jump into the side view so I can place my joints from here. And I'll select the joint tool. I'll make my first joint right at the tip of the chin here, where I want the beard to start its movement. Then from there, I'm going to pick another point somewhere in the middle here, around there. And then I think I'll grab one more point just so we have just a few points of articulation here. I'm going to turn off wireframe, it's a little hard to see. So now we can see these joints in here that will control where this beard is going to bend. I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to adjust this a little bit so it doesn't bend on his beard ribbon here in the middle. So if you see, he's got this kind of strap tied to his beard to maintain its volume. And so I don't really want it bending there necessarily. So actually, now that I'm looking at it, this last joint here can probably come up so that the following beard material can rotate. And I'm going to add just one more joint here just to reorient that joint, see how it popped into orientation. Let me look at that again up close. If I create another joint coming from that last joint, see how it reorients itself? And now I can just delete that last one. And so now all our joints are kind of lined up. I'm going to space them out a little more evenly there. And that should be pretty good for a beard. Now that we've created these new joints here, let's go in and name them all. So I'm going to go through the outliner and name this Beard 1 joint. Then I'll name this next one Beard 2 joint. And this next one here, Beard 3 joint. Now selecting this top joint here, the top beard joint, Beard 1, you can actually do it in the outliner. And then I'll shift select the jaw joint and press P to parent it. And now the beard is in its rightful place underneath the hierarchy of our skeleton. So that's it. We now have a completed skeleton for our dwarf hero. He's got his spine in there. All his arms and legs are set up to work with IKs when we add those later. We mirrored everything from the left side to the right side to save time. We also gave his eyes and beard the potential to move the way that we would expect. And after a little bit of tedium, all the joints have their proper names. It can be a little rough to name each and every joint, but you'll definitely thank yourself later. It comes in handy. Moving forward, we're totally done placing joints. We don't even need the joint tool anymore. Next up, we'll be working with curves and constraints when we build our animation controllers in the next module.